Are you serious? Are you serious? Have a cup of coffee, and I have my cup of coffee. Today we're going to get into a couple of little things here. Okay, here we go. Find exactly what I was looking for. So, before we get into the whole pins and needles of the whole thing, a lot of you guys know that I used to do videos in my car, but then it started to turn out that whenever you would use the wireless CarPlay, it would not allow sound to be, so when you did your videos, they came out with no sound. That's because they don't want you to do that while you're driving. So I pulled this out. This is actually kind of older, so I'm probably going to wipe this out and let my grandson have it because he's little. So it's an MP3 player, but Wi-Fi wise, it's a phone. I mean, you can get Google Voice. You can, use different texting methods. And so in Wi-Fi, you have a phone. It's got a camera. So I tested it out yesterday, and I got a video that came up while I drove. So I ordered a relatively decent one. Now, Android is 15.0. This is 13. That's why it's cheaper, the one I ordered. But I ordered a little SD card, which is a 1 terabyte card. So a terabyte of info on a phone is pretty good because this one here, my phone's only 500. So it's not a terabyte. So now I'll probably be able to shoot your videos when I'm driving, and then I'll have to come back and put the chip in, and then I can do it that way. So there that is. Okay, so if you guys have paid attention to the stock market, now I know a little bit about the stock market. I mean, I'm not like huge into like hedge funds and T-bills and all this other stuff. But when I was a little kid, when I was like maybe 12, it sparked my interest enough to think about maybe doing it because being a broker, because there was money involved, and if you did a really good job, you would just be like the movie Wall Street, be floating millions of dollars, and hey, man, you got it. And at that time, this is the one thing that kept me out of it, and then I decided not to study. But back then, when I was a little kid, they didn't have, different places all over the United States, where Dean Witter and Payne Weber and whatever, were all over the United States and had their little own places and had computers to do it. You had to go to Wall Street and do it. And the thought of living in New York City was just not something I could do. I can't even take a crowded grocery store, let alone that. So that drifted apart. So anyway, if you've been watching the market over the last week, it's been fluctuating up and down and up and down and up and down to where you can say it's not really gained, and it hasn't lost a humongous amount, but it has lost. Yesterday, I went to the grocery store and I bought some items. Eggs were about $7.50. That's not real bad where we live, but it's more than usual. Coffee, which I went and got last week, a small bag of coffee. Now, it is a major brand, but it was $18.99 last week. Yesterday it was $21. And that was a certain kind. If you got the regular blend, it was $30. It's gone up. So yes, a lot of things have happened. I would actually, I like to direct you guys to a lot of other people because I'm not the kind of guy that's going to come out here and say everything I think anymore. I think that the internet can kind of be an unsafe spot, especially with some of the things they've been talking about lately. And they already do it, but admitting that they're going to monitor what you say and blah, blah, blah. Boy, that could be hate speech. And, oh, this could be that. And we're going to watch what you do. And, yeah. So I'm going to, speaking of hedge around what I'm trying to say without really saying it. Check out Dabu. He had a video the other day to talk about Peacekeeper. I'll just say that. And you can put Dabu007 Peacekeeper. Click. It'll come up with that video, about an hour. And you can watch that. He has a lot of great videos out there. I tend to like to go to bed, and I listen to about a half an hour before I go to sleep of certain videos. He has great stuff, but his voice is soft enough that it puts me to sleep. And so I never really ever hear the video. Nate's got another one up that I want to watch today that I didn't watch. Pastor Paul has one with Mike from Around the World that I haven't watched, so I can watch that one too. And I never watch Pastor Paul too much. I just get into the middle and watch Mike from Around the World, because if any of you guys have ever noticed this, and even though it might be the best of intentions, look at how many videos the person puts out per day. And the length of the video compared to the in-commercial video. We'll come up with a breaking video, 5 minutes of infomercial and 5 minutes of the story, meaning it couldn't have been that breaking if it was in the middle. Selling books, paying for webinars, the same commercials over and over, which are in your links and are down below. But you do 7 or 8 of those a day. And I get it. I understand. You're a nonprofit organization. You need money to run your place and to help people who need. I understand. But again, like I've told a lot of people out here, YouTube has put out a thing where you pay a certain amount of money per month to not get ads. So your way around that, and that's not just him, a lot of people do it. They do in-video ads, and unless you physically scroll through it, you got to listen to it. Well, that's a violation of the terms of YouTube, because you said you wanted no commercials. Anyway, back to the story. So, stock market's been volatile. It's been up, it's been down, it's been up, it's been down, it's been up, it's been down. Today it's down again. If people know me well enough, I'll get something in my brain and then I'll Google it and I'll go down a rabbit hole. Well, yesterday I went down a pretty deep rabbit hole. And the interesting thing about it was, now I know a little bit about this, but I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want to put myself in it. But again, when we talk about the main AC, we're not saying that it's a person that maybe I just Googled and found and saw videos about. But does it mean that person could usher all of it in? Maybe. Funny thing is, I'll go this way. During World War II, a certain person, now he didn't produce it or make it, but he introduced a certain vehicle to the population. Gas economical. I even owned one. Went forever on gas. Didn't need water for radiators. Didn't have one. And for its time, it's a great innovation. Fast forward to today. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just saying. Now, the one thing I wanted to put out here is what I've been talking about to all my friends. Not one person has answered me, and I'm telling you, all the people that were against cashless society are now kind of for it. Because just because this system, I don't want to name it, isn't in itself cashless, it is, but it could introduce it to the whole population and make it a world currency in a few years, maybe less. Everybody who was against cashless society is now kind of for it. Don't make any sense. As much as people were pushing the other side for having somebody else do something instead of the guy sitting there, it seems to be the same thing this time. And I'm on the fence because I didn't vote either way. And as I've told people, how many left, right, can say that they one time voted this way or voted this way? I have. I'm not saying that the vote I threw the other way ended up real good, but it didn't end up real bad either. We're just kind of one of those, well, and not much really changed one way or another. But a lot of people, and I always try to use examples. I mean, no way. Oh, did I put it back? Well, I don't know what I did with that dumb little iPod. I set it down somewhere. Now I don't know where it is. Well, we're going to say this. So, this was the past admin. Okay? But now, this person is going to change its stripes and be this admin. Well, now you don't want to vote for him because he's this admin. But he was over here. You see, you vote for who you think is the best to do it. And that's what I've always done. Registered one, but have thrown votes either way. Now, here's another thing. I'm watching the elections very closely, like senator races, governors, and all of this. And watching to see if a certain person who's going to try to be our governor of my state ends up not winning and somebody from them wins. To where every state, predominantly, no matter what, is the same as the Senate, the same as the House, the same as the whatever. It's all one tight-knit group, and then pretty much deal what you want to do. But, because I can admit this too, how many of us use cash every day? Not many of us. We go to the store, we tap pay. We put in. Most of us don't. Most of us don't use cash. Sometimes you might owe a guy $20, and it's easier to give him a physical 20 than it is to transfer phone-wise. Sometimes it just ends up that way. Like I have a friend who's not that internet savvy. He has an old Moto phone, but he doesn't really know how to use it except be on FB, okay? Well, in that situation, I got to give him the hard 20. You know, here's a physical $20 bill because he doesn't know how to do the other. I could send it to him. He wouldn't know how to get it. He'd be like lost. So in that essence, some people still do that. Or I can even show you something that I do. A lot of us do this. How many of us over time, but this is going to show you how much cash I really spend because this has been months. When you get change back, how many do this? And then at the end of the year, turn all this in for, for money. How many do that? A lot of people do it. Well, cashless society, you won't do that. Also, in the 80s and 90s, they used to talk about there was like $300,000 in coinage that was just kind of out there, not circulated, just sitting there, because it would, and that was helping the whole system. Well, in a cashless society, you won't have that. Now, again, like I said, a lot of people who thought that was horrible now support it. So there's that. Crazy, 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 crazy. The other thing, so we're going to throw 25% tariff on Mexico. Ooh, Mexico says, guess what? We're going to shoot you back 25%. Then throws it to 50. See, everybody sits there and thinks that we can rely on ourselves. Some people might be able to do that. If you live out in the woods and you're off grid, you might be able to do it. I don't have the means to throw up everything I have and go live out in the country. Okay? I am now older, have medical conditions of which I need medication for. If I'm living out in the woods, how am I ever going to get it? I'm not going to be all that easy. Raising your own chickens and raising your own beef and it is easy enough if you're younger. But who's going to do that? A generic person can't. Think about this. I've already heard of this. So after all this is going on, how many people within the whole country who have roots, and they're legal, have roots to a certain country, aren't going to get a little mad and maybe refuse to work? See? That can happen. So, one of the things that Dabu put out that I'm going to throw out, by June or July, let's see how this whole thing is. Let's see if all these wars over here are settled. Doesn't mean anything's not going to happen before then. But around June or July is what I'm thinking about. Something I thought about a long time ago. It's in here, if I can get to it. This is my dad's. There's a couple pages ripped out of it, so I just keep it because it is. But let's say this is written in this book. This is old. It's got maps and pictures, all kinds of stuff in it. A couple pages ripped out. But there's a verse in there that talks about a certain amount of time apiece. So that would be around June or July of this year, if it fits that. Then 3.5 years of so-called peace, which is time for someone else, and then, as it says, a lot of big-time stuff happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Just kind of interesting to go along and follow. Like I said, I never name anything in here. I never go off on a real wild tangent. I just direct you to other people and let you listen to what they say. Because you can sit there and talk about certain things not being allowed. The First Amendment is not being allowed. Oh, we're going to monitor social media and see what people say. And if we deem it hate, see what I mean? That's not much different than before. People have been monitored on this thing since it ever came out. I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson of the internet. And no, Al Gore did not invent it. It was invented by, I forgot the guy's name, and they put it out there for the Department of Defense, the military. Then the military decided that it was a very useless tool and they didn't need it. So they turned it over to the population. Here you go. A vast library in your fingertips. What was the very first thing I ever searched? Bob Lazar in Area 51. That was the very first thing I ever searched on the internet. Because I've been studying that since I was a kid. So now, with all the technology that you have, you're being tracked. This happened in a video I watched last night. They were talking about cars. So after you buy a certain car, after a few years, at the hub, and I know a person who works at one, they're able to do this at the hub and update your car. Sounds nice on the surface. But who's to say they don't go, well, you know, this guy's had all these speeding tickets. Let's make his car go 60. Now, no matter what you try to do, that's where you're at, see? Technology in your fingertips. Now, a lot of the things that I've seen over my time, I realize it's just mostly technology. And everything we thought way back then is turning out to not be as true as we thought. It's just tech. Tech is good. It's 100 years ahead of itself. That's something to ponder too. Now, here's another thing. Yesterday, I never felt one of these, but there were around 3.0 to 3.6 earthquakes right near me. Never felt them. But there is a place called the Hayward Fault Line. Kind of interesting. It's been raining. That's why somebody's got to use your other hat. I could give you a story that was back in the 90s, I think it was, and we wanted to go into Afghanistan really bad, and they weren't going to let us in there. So what happened? All of a sudden, it began to rain and rain and rain and rain. Then, whammo, humongous earthquake. They sure needed aid then, and we were able to go right on in. Technology. Technology. There's a guy on here who talks about the South Pole and the station they have there, neutrinos. Nobody believes it. But you don't know unless you're there doing it. Anyway, like I said, June, July, we'll see where we're at. There's so much that goes on that no one pays any attention to. It's amazing. And then if I tell anybody here any of that, well, what website did you get that on? Like they think it's a conspiracy or something. Because the main TV didn't tell them. Well, anyway, I just wanted to put out a video today. It's kind of random. Get you to think a little bit. Google is your friend, remember that. So, just, you think of something, go on Google and look. Now, a lot of things that we used to believe in are now labeled conspiracy theories if you check them out. But a lot of times, conspiracy theories turn out to be true. And like Nate said, no one knows for sure if that phone call to Putin took place. They just said it did. Anyway, we'll stop and see what happens. I'm going to take off, my guys. I got to check something out. And I might come and do another video today, but the odds of doing 2 in one day are pretty low. Happy Valentine's Day to all you guys out there. But remember, anything you think of, throw it in Google or go here. You might find it. Peace.